statements and opinions made on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its affiliates. Fighting corruption with Anthony Greco. Fighting government corruption, the real gangsters.
Greetings from the corrupt criminal enterprise we know as Nye County. I am Anthony Greco, and welcome tonight. Every week I have flags alongside of me here, and this week I have the American flag, and it's upside down. It's ripped from the wind. There's holes where the stars are. It actually needs to be brought to the Boy Scouts so they could retire it the proper way. But it's there for a reason. It's making a statement. It's upside down. And what does an American flag upside down mean? Well, if you were on a boat and you had your flag upside down, you're telling people that you're in distress. And that's how, without radio communications, when you're on a boat, you let people know that you're in distress and you need help. And our country is in distress, and we definitely need help. I don't know if it's the help that we get from our founding fathers that ask for divine intervention to help them do this properly or not, but we're in a lot of trouble. And I'm going to get into that in a little while. We're not going to take any phone calls until the break because I have things that I have to talk about that I can't be interrupted on. Not that your call is interruption, but I can't lose track of what's going on with this. I'm not telling you this story to blow my own horn, but I have always done a lot of volunteer work. And from back in New York, always volunteer work, some political, some just for people that need help. I used to volunteer in Carmel Richmond Nursing Home in Staten Island for about 5 years, just before I moved here. And when I moved here, I volunteered for Nathan Adelson Hospice, and the only reason why I stopped doing that is when 2010 came and I was running for office for town board, I didn't want my political views to hurt Nathan Adelson Hospice, so I took a break from doing that. So like I said, my political views wouldn't hurt that organization, which is a very good organization. And I talked on the radio here about starting the St. Michael's Foundation, and there is a Facebook page, St. Michael's Foundation, and there's a post on there right at the very first post, and it says that we at the St. Michael's Foundation are here to give all people a hand up for a better life. And that's what we try to do, and I've been doing that for a while, even before I started the organization. And people have been donating food and clothing, and I've been giving it out to who needs it. You don't have to fill out any paperwork. I don't care what your background is or anything like that. If you need something, I'll try to get it for you. And the reason why I got into that is because I tried to help people, and I'm going to tell you 2 stories about people I have helped here in the community. I'm not going to give their names. One of them was a female that I met at a meet and greet, and she was involved with a domestic violence case against her, and she needed a place to live, and my good friend Sonny had a travel trailer that he wanted to sell, and I asked the person how much they could afford, and whatever Sonny wanted, I turned around and told him, we'll keep it on my property, and until you get paid, because she doesn't have money, but she has to pay rent somewhere. So if we figure out what you want, divide it by 12, she can afford that payment. And every month, when she gets her disability check, she'll be able to pay you. And until you get paid and get your money, I won't charge her for not even electricity. That way, she wouldn't be able to afford everything. So if she could pay him off in a year, no interest, that then then her payment would drop because the electricity, she wouldn't use as much electricity as the payment would be. And she still could buy food and whatever medical care she needed, and she'd be safe. The place is all fenced in and everything. And everybody agreed on it. She signed a contract. We did all her paperwork. Everything had to get done. Everything got notarized. Well, that was back in November. The first payment was due in December. So, and everything was working properly. Whatever didn't work, Sonny is a man of his word. He made sure that everything worked. This is a nice 31-footer with slide outs and everything. So he trusted me to make sure that he was protected, and I kept my word with him and her that all this would work. Well, all of a sudden, now you're talking about, this is November, and December comes around and the first payment has to be made, no problem. I made sure he got his money. December, January, February, March, no problem. All of a sudden, on March 10th, I get a knock on my door and I see a truck there and there's all cars around, and I says to the guy, "What's up?" He says, "Well, I'm here to remove that trailer." I said, "What trailer?" He says, "Her trailer." I'm not going to mention her name. And I said, "That's not her trailer." He says, "Oh yeah, she has paperwork saying she owns it." I said, "No, she has a contract saying that when she gets done making the last payment, she owns it." I says, "It's a lease to buy, like rent to buy when you do property. That's the way it was." He said, "No." I says, "Listen." So I get on the phone with my friend Sonny. I says, "Listen, we got a problem down here. I need you to run down here with the contracts and turn around and give it to this guy." So while I'm waiting for Sonny to come down, this guy, he tells me his name. He's an Italian guy, lives in Vegas, and he starts asking me, "You know this guy? You know that guy?" So that's the, if you're from New York, and you'll understand that's the like wise guy stuff, throwing names around like to try to impress anybody. But that don't work with me. And the guy goes to shake my hand. I said, "I don't know who you are." I said, "My handshake is worth more than a contract." I said, "Let's wait for Sonny to get here. We'll read the paperwork." He said, "Well, I don't care. I'm taking it." He said, "I'll call the sheriff." I said, "You better call the FBI." I said, "Because that no trespassing sign that you passed on the way in here is Title 18, Section 241, 242. That's federal." I says, "This Mickey Mouse stuff with these local NRSs, that's Mickey Mouse stuff." I said, "So you better get on the phone with the FBI if you got a problem." I says, "And you're already trespassing." So he just looked at me, and I turned around and told him, I says, "Don't give me no wise guy crap. I'm Italian from New York, so any wise guys from Vegas are just like Boy Scouts to me." I said, "So that's not going to impress me." So Sonny gets there, and the guy starts mouthing off to him. I said, "There's no reason to do that." And Sonny's getting a little agitated. I says, "Listen, guys, this is going to be handled like gentlemen." I says, "We don't need any arguments." The guy looks at the contract. He looks at the person that's trying to steal the trailer out of the place. And he turns around and tells her, "How'd you get me involved in this?" I said, "Well, she got you involved because you were lying. She lied to you. And because she got a pretty face, you fell for it." I says, "That don't work with me." I says, "So now, what you're going to do is, she can take her 2 vehicles, pack her garbage." I said, "She's not getting thrown out of here. But if she wants to leave, hey, this isn't prison. You can go anytime you want. You're just not taking my friend's property. It's that simple." So he goes and talks to her. He starts yelling at her and everything. I said, "Just stay calm." And they were there, and I told Sonny to relax. Don't worry about a thing. So they end up leaving, packing up all their stuff, and going. I call up a real estate agent. I says, "Listen, I got this situation, this, and this. What am I supposed to do?" Says, "You can't do anything for 30 days. Okay. I tell Sonny, "Lock the door. I'll unplug the electricity, unplug the water so there's no problems. In 30 days, we'll go and see what's going on." Well, now this is a person that I'm helping, right? So she goes to another person that we know, a well-known name in the community, used to be in politics and trying to get back into it. And she runs to him and says, Greco robbed me. He screwed me. The other guy, blah, 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 blah. So this person's all gullible, not a pretty face. Let's just float around like an idiot and listen to whatever they say. And 15 days later, or 10 days later, my friend Sonny gets a call at his house by this political person and starts cursing Sonny out and telling him that you and Greco are thieves and you screwed this person, blah, 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 blah. So Sonny calls me, I go there, I call him up. No answer. I leave a message, leave my phone number, don't call me. That night, I call again. He picks up the phone. I says, hey, this is Anthony Greco. He said, yeah. I says, so I guess you were misinformed about things. So he says, I don't know what you're talking about. So I laid out the whole thing. I says, and did she tell you that she tried to steal this? No. I said, see, you got to get your story correct before you start calling people up and threatening them and cursing at them and stuff like that. You're cursing at an 83-year-old guy. I said, why would you do that? Unless you really know the story. So it turns out 5 days later, I get a message that this woman had moved to that other person's house. He couldn't deal with it. Now, don't forget, I had a November, December, January, February. She left on March 10th. 15 days later, he changes the locks on the unit she's living in and throws her out and tells her, don't come back, I'm going to have you trespassed. 15 days, I did it for 4.5 months, okay, to help somebody. Okay. Meanwhile, all the electricity, all the water, everything, I didn't get a dime because it was important to me that my friend would get paid. All right? So after he throws this person out, she's living in the desert, and then she moves in with some other undesirable, gets him locked up. When he gets out of jail, he throws her out. I have no idea where she is. I don't want to know. And the funny thing about it is I said to Sonny when they pulled out, I put my hand around them and I turned around and told him, today we were blessed by God that she left. You got to look at it like that. It was a blessing. She is gone. Well, 31 days later, we go into his travel trailer, and the guy has a tear in his eye because this unit that was like perfect when it was brought to my property looked like a total disaster. Syringes used and unused all over the floor. Spoons with white powder in it, well, kegged because I guess it was heated up. It's all over the place. Cigarette burns in the carpet. Vomit all over. Dog waste all over. Dog waste and food in the vents down there in the floor for the heat and the air conditioning. The blinds were ruined. The mattress looked like it was urinated on every day. It was just a nightmare. This guy's property was destroyed. I'm sitting there saying to myself, I'm responsible for this. I hooked these two people up. Okay, so I'm not going to get any further into that story, but I'm going to just tell you that people like this woman will not stop me from helping people. And the smart thing was that we had contracts. Okay, and Sonny is a ordained pastor, and he's not going to call on the damage of his property or anything like that. But we have video, we have pictures. When we had numerous people come in to clean, and it still needs work. And it's just a nightmare when you try to give somebody a hand up that they do this to you, because I don't believe in giving a handout that don't help anybody. It's a hand up. And I saw this quote on Facebook today, and I had to write it down. Some people don't want to be fixed because being broke gets them attention. Just think about that. Okay? So Fortunately, we were blessed by God that we didn't have to throw her out. She left. Yeah, whatever Sonny collected towards payments is going to go back into putting it the way it was. So he's on a total blowout. Okay, where he made nothing, maybe lost some money. I never got to where I was going to collect for my utilities, so I'm lost. Okay, but this is not going to deter me from helping people, because it's like drugs. If you try to help 10 people and you save one, you did a good job. So if I have to get screwed 9 times to save somebody, sometime you got to get dirt on your uniform. It's that simple. So now we'll get into the next person. And this person was calling into the radio show. They were looking for a place to live and everything like that. And I'm saying to people, does anybody have a unit that they don't need that we could lend to this person so they don't become homeless and this and that. And finally, Lazy Dog is at an auction, and he's bidding on this fifth wheel. And he didn't inspect it or anything. He's just bidding on it. Even if it was scrap, he didn't pay. I don't think he paid $300 for it. And he donates it to this person, and I donate the space to the person to keep him from having to live in his car with his dogs. So between Lazy Dog and me, we get the thing all set up, but it has to be inspected because nobody ever inspected, so we don't know what the water situation is or the electricity. So when it gets there, Lazy Dog tells me the thing is pretty rough, it's going to need work. I said, okay. I says, did the person look at it, say that he wanted it? He says, yeah. I said, well, it's on him. It's not on you. You gave him a gift. Whether it's good, bad, or halfway decent, it's a gift. You stop the person from being homeless. So they turn around, this guy, he wants to have the place cleaned. I said, well, before you clean it, why don't you have somebody come and check the electricity and check the plumbing? No, I gotta get in here. I said, but you can't get in here without electricity and plumbing. He said, no, I gotta get in here. So I'm gonna have somebody come and clean it. So he has friends that I know that he borrows money from all the time because he thinks my friend is is a nice person, and he's going to work on the man's pity to constantly suck money out of him. Okay? So he gets it all cleaned, he starts moving stuff, and I tell him, now here's the deal. You got 2 vehicles, those are the only things I want outside your unit. Think of it as an apartment. You can't leave anything outside your apartment. This is your unit. I don't do any maintenance. I'm not your landlord. You're reimbursing me for electricity. Not charging any rent. Okay? Friend of a friend, we got to take care of people we know. Guy's in there 2 days. Furniture outside the unit. Garbage on the ground. Hoses laying all over the place. He said, I need water. I said, but you have no plumbing. I says, your toilet's not hooked up to anything. We can't hook it to the sewer system I have here. You don't have any piping. I can't put water in there. Where's your waste gonna go? Well, I gotta have water. I said, well, there's a gas station half a mile that way. You have 2 vehicles. There's a casino open 24 hours a day a mile that way. I says, you got running water there. You could use the toilet. I figure that's what's going on. A couple of days later, I need electricity, so he doesn't have the wiring to get the electricity, so I run an extension cord from my house so he has some electricity. Finally, they get somebody to come, look at the plumbing. Person says they'll be back, takes his money, doesn't come back for weeks. I still think that he's going down to the casino or the gas station to use it. Turns around and tells me that he has a bucket of human waste in his unit is starting to get filled. Where can he dump it? I I says, you should have went and got a camper toilet. You know, you put it in a bag and then you put it in the garbage. Well, one night while I was sleeping, instead of doing that, he dumped a pail of raw human sewage in my garbage pail. I couldn't believe it. So he's got a little bit of electricity. We finally get the piping hook up to the sewer. Okay, turn the water on, no problem, everything's running. I go out the next morning, I hear water running. He left the faucets on in the house all night long, running the water, filling up the sewer. I turn around and says, I shut the water off. All of a sudden, tells me he doesn't have any water. I said, well, your water's running constantly. Oh, I was cleaning out the pipes. I says, not all night long. I says, if you shut this stuff off, I'll put the water back on. Okay, does that, no problem. Finally gets hooked up to the electricity. I take the extension cord away. I see him on the side of my unit, beating on the electric box. What's the matter? He said, I don't have electricity. I go check all the breakers, I'm good. I says, it's you. Turns around, calls somebody up, they finally get there, get the electricity fixed. Constantly blowing breakers. Got to the point where we're back to an extension cord because the breaker box is rotted. So you can't use any electricity in the unit. One day I go out there, I see the hose for the toilet disconnected laying on the ground. I go right away, I go shut the water off. You can't have human waste pouring onto the dirt, right? It's unhealthy. He starts yelling at me, I gotta have water. I said, but you cannot put waste on my property. It's just unhealthy. Now this is a person who's got 2 dogs, barking all the time. 3 o'clock in the morning, I have a 90-year-old mother living with me. Dog's barking, she gets up, she can't fall back to sleep until 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay? He don't care. Okay? I have rights. I'm gonna call the authorities. I gotta have water. I said, yeah, you need water, but I don't need your waste pouring onto my property. It's an unhealthy situation. Well, he gets all kinds of angry. I says, you don't have any water until it's fixed. So he goes and gets some duct tape,